Guitars is giving away this Gibson Custom Shop Les Paul to one of you. How to enter? Subscribe to Play and Trade Guitars on YouTube, and we'll give it away when we hit 50,000 subscribers. Hey, welcome back to Play and Trade Guitars. I'm John, that's Zach behind the camera, and this is Play and Trade Guitars, where we play it and trade it. Continuing our look at the best-selling Les Pauls today from Gibson, looking at the Les Paul Classic. This has actually been requested many times by all of you who have rightly pointed out that in our first series we didn't cover it. Well, today is the day we're covering the Les Paul Classic, and if you're in the market for a Classic or any other guitar or gear, please use our purchase link down in the description. It supports our channel directly when you do that. Sign up for our Gleam giveaway, and remember, we're going to give away that Gibson Les Paul when we hit 50,000 subscribers. All right, our job today is to put this Les Paul Classic on the bench, take it apart and talk specs, and then of course plug it in and play it. I also think it's a great direct comparison for the more expensive priced Les Paul Modern. Check out our video on the Modern. Let's get down and flip the latches and get to work. We got this nice modern matte black Gibson hardshell case that the Classic ships with. And check out this. This is translucent cherry. What a beautiful nitro finish on this Les Paul Classic. And of course, one of the most striking things about a Classic, you got these zebra pickups. This is a pair of the Burstbucker 60s pickups which in other Les Pauls Zach and I have really liked. One of the hallmark characteristics of a Classic is that uncovered humbucker. So if you like that look, a Classic is probably the way to go. Translucent cherry lets you see a lot of the wood grain coming from this maple top. You got a traditionally weight-relieved mahogany body. Traditional weight relief meaning that there's 9 holes routed strategically into about this segment of the guitar, just to reduce the weight. You got that red translucent cherry matching on the back of the mahogany neck. You have binding on the neck and on the body. And you know what? This could be a good value Gibson Les Paul because it costs less than the standard and it certainly costs less than the modern. So why don't we head over to the bench, we'll take it apart, look at all the specs, talk about all the pros and cons, so keep watching at the end. I'll give you the best reasons to buy this guitar, where it really shines and maybe where it falls short. Drop a comment as we go. Let's head to the bench and take this thing apart. Classic open book Gibson style headstock. I like how the translucent cherry goes all the way around the back of the neck and headstock to match. Got a set of kidney bean standard Grover tuners. That compares to the locking tuners on the Modern, which is about $500 more. And I'll continue to tell you why I think they're so comparable. As we come down, piece of rosewood, just your standard binding. You can see the fret nibs a lot better. The Modern had a surprising lack of fret nibs. It was kind of strange. As we come down, you're going to see acrylic trapezoid inlays instead of the mother of pearl inlays that you'll find on the Modern. And here's why I think it really becomes a worthy comparison. As we get down to the body and talk about the electronics, you got these zebra Burstbucker 60s pickups. And guess what? These volume, tone have exactly the same configuration as the Les Paul Modern for $500 less. That's going to include the coil tap feature with the push-pull volumes for each of the humbuckers. It's going to include on the neck tone a phase reversal. That happens on the neck pickup, and it's a pronounced sound that you'll hear, especially when we get into playing in the middle position. I think it really shines. And then the last control, which I still quite haven't figured out, but we have this output bypass, where when you pull up the tone on the bridge humbucker, you are only hearing the bridge humbucker straight through, bypassing all the rest of the electronics, kind of a pure play on the bridge pickup, sending it straight out. And when you engage that, actually none of the other controls will have any control whatsoever on the guitar. It's purely just routing the bridge pickup straight out to the output jack. So pretty interesting. A standout as we talk about the Les Paul Classic is going to be the neck shape. I always talk about the two big differentiators on any Les Paul is going to be the neck shape and the pickups. And with the neck shape on a Classic, you're going to get a slim taper. So if you're in the market for a 50s neck, probably not for you, but if you like that 60s slim taper style neck, this is going to be that classic Gibson slim taper neck, and I can already feel it kind of in my hands. Definitely a slimmer experience. This compares to the asymmetrical taper that you'll feel on the Modern, and that's a substantial difference. This might be a more cut and dry way to go for a slim taper Les Paul if you like the modern characteristics of all these push-pull control features which you find on this guitar. Let me get the strings out of the way, we'll get neck measurements, we'll pull all the electronics before we plug it in and play it. Remember to use our purchase link if you're in the market and drop a comment as we go. With the strings out of the way, you can get a closer look at this piece of rosewood. This one in particular looks like it needs a drink, so I'll give it some Diodario Hydrate. Rosewood is conditioning. We'll go ahead and get some neck measurements on the slim taper neck. 1.69 inches on the nut, 0.81 at the first fret, up to 0.90 at the 12th fret. Body thickness, 2 inches. Flipping over the Zebra Burstbucker 60s. This is a Rhythm 61 in neck position. This guitar has a short neck tenon too, if you want to get a look at down in the neck pocket. Flipping over in bridge, we have a Lead 61. We've had experience with these pickups before. I'm really always pleasantly really happy with the sound of the 61s. With the multimeter on, we're looking at 7.6 in bridge, 7.6 in neck, 3.7 combined. And then just to give you a rundown of the controls again, each volume is going to be a coil tap. It's not going to have any effect on the multimeter. Coil tap effectively shortening the length of the wound wire. That goes for both the bridge and the neck. Pulling the neck tone, we're going to have a phase flip. And then pulling the bridge tone, we're going to have that bypass where you can see on the multimeter what's happening now. It's reading 7.7. We're only getting the bridge pickup, and it doesn't matter what I do with any of the controls, including the tone control itself, or the three-way selector. Nothing's going to change because with this pulled, we're sending the bridge pickup straight out with nothing else going on in the circuit. So ABR1 with the screws pointed up towards the headstock, but the posts themselves, unlike traditional ABR1 bridge, are actually in this bushing, which is set into the body, kind of like a Nashville style bridge. Circuit board with the taller CTS pots for the push-pull. The quick connect adapter system, so if you have pickups that you want to swap out that also have the quick connect, easy to do that. Could potentially be harder to modify this guitar if you want to make any mods. A little harder to work on a circuit board than to work on a hand-wired guitar. But this allows Gibson to make these quicker and I guess with more consistency. Although those parts, if they wear out or if those push-pull pots wear out and you need to replace one, it's much more difficult to work with a pot that's soldered down into that circuit board than hand-wired. Just something to be aware of. So as I mentioned, this has traditional 9-hole weight relief. So they're going to actually plunge 9 holes in about this area of the guitar just to take out some of that mahogany to try to reduce the weight. So I'll get a weight on this one. 8 pounds, 10 ounces, so call it 8.6 pounds. The 9-hole weight relief is the oldest version that Gibson developed for weight relieving a Les Paul because everyone knows that they can get heavy. And the 9-hole is kind of the least invasive of all the methods. Going from the 9-hole, you would be going up to modern weight relief, and then the most drastic thing you could do is chamber a Les Paul completely, and there are chambered Les Pauls. Sound starts to change a lot at that point. All right, flipping the Les Paul around for some initial playing reactions. Definitely what you'd expect from a slim taper neck if you like the slim taper neck. I kind of prefer a 50s style neck, but it's just important to point out that neck shape is one of the biggest differentiators amongst Les Pauls. So when you're in the market for a classic, there's not an option. So if you want the classic, you've got to want that slim taper neck. Nothing wrong with one, just a different feel than like a 50s that you'd find on, say, a 50s standard. And also distinctly different than the asymmetrical design slim taper that you'll find on something like the Les Paul Modern. But good ring to this guitar. Actually, really resonant guitar. Great unplugged sound. So far, so good. Nice finishing on the binding. Frets feel nice. Obviously, they plec all the guitars at Gibson USA, which is a nice high-end feature. And you can check out our factory tour to see that plec machine in action, which is pretty cool. But all that's left to do, why don't we plug this guitar in? We'll get some direct clean sounds, give you an overview of the controls again for all the different tone options. We'll get a few riffs fired up, and then we'll put it behind a track, let it sing. This is my favorite part. Let's get to work. Let's do it. Les Paul Classic has been a total pleasant surprise. It's the lower priced guitar amongst the collection of classic, standard, modern. In that kind of tight lineup from Gibson USA, it's really attractive to look at a $24.99 price point and to get the features that you're getting. I think the Burstbucker 60s have got to be my favorite Burstbuckers. These sound fantastic. And I could really hear the pronounced sounds available on this palette of tone controls. In fact, more so than I could hear on the Les Paul Modern, which costs $500 more. I love the translucent cherry, the nitro finish. All of the construction is super clean on this. The guitar has a tight resonant sound unplugged. It's loud unplugged. And I think this is that thing where you line up some Les Pauls and one of them just has that magic. This guitar has that magic. I am super impressed with the Classic. If you want the modern design, but you don't want to bother with the asymmetrical neck, and you just want a classic, tried and true, slim tapered neck with all the features that come with the modern push-pull coil sounds, I think this is a great option. But I've got to tell you, after playing the Les Paul Modern at $29.99 and the Les Paul Classic at $24.99, I've got to actually hand it to the Classic. It's a better sounding guitar. It actually has better construction in some regards, but in particular, I think the binding was nicer. And in construction also, for whatever reason, I hear the sound of these push-pull pots, much more so with the 60s burst buckers than I did the burst bucker pros. I'm not sure why, the reason for that, but it was definitely pronounced as I was playing. Great guitar to play, great looks. I've got to hand it to the Classic. Do not overlook the Les Paul Classic in the Gibson USA lineup. For Play and Trade guitars, make sure you check out our purchase link, and when you buy using our purchase link any gear that you need from Zounds that supports us directly, and be subscribed to win that Les Paul from the Gibson Custom Shop. Gleam entry link in the description.